What's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and today we're going to be previewing round 4, Port Adelaide versus West Coast at the home of football, Metricon Stadium. It's going to be a big game for both sides, actually, both coming in with reasons to wanting to win this one. It's going to be played 1:15 on Saturday afternoon SA time. Obviously, West Coast coming off a loss to Brisbane, and Port Adelaide beating Fremantle quite comfortably by 29 points last week in round 3. It's going to be an interesting game, one with both teams have plenty riding on it. So let's get into this preview of Port Adelaide versus West Coast. These two teams have a rivalry that seems to be on the scoreboard more than it does actually in the field of play. It's been one of the more fascinating stories between the two sides, especially since 2017, where Port Adelaide and West Coast have fought out constant close battles in games that have been played at the Adelaide Oval. The games at Optus Stadium, on the other hand, have either been smashings or West Coast wins. So, majority of the time, West Coast seem to have Port Adelaide's upper hand and almost up our bogey side of the competition. And every time we do seem to beat West Coast, it is a pretty sweet feeling. So that doesn't change going into this week's game. Form doesn't really count anymore when these two sides play. It's like kind of like the WA versus SA showdown between these two teams. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one pans out at Metricon Stadium in a neutral ground. West Coast don't particularly like playing in Queensland in general, so for them to be hubbed up there, you can see from the results already they've lost 2 on the trot, Brisbane and Gold Coast. So it's a different scenario for them this week. They're coming up against a side that also doesn't play a lot of Queensland footy in Port Adelaide. And I think, although Port's form in the Gold Coast in general and up in Queensland is really good, this sets a whole new agenda for both teams coming up against each other. That said, form will play a little bit of a part, especially with Port Adelaide full of confidence, 3-0, top of the ladder, and comfortably going about their business very nicely. Whereas West Coast, well, they've stumbled after the hub period, during the hub period and also during the period we had off for 10 weeks or so. And it's starting to take its toll, I think, and the pressure's starting to mount. So I wouldn't expect anything less than a good, solid performance from West Coast. I think, they've still got an A-grade midfield. They've still got Nick Natanui. They've still got a great forward line with Kennedy and Darling. Their defence, a little bit hindered without McGovern, but in saying that, they've still got a solid back line and they will still be able to play consistent, good footy on a day like what Saturday's going to be, which is pretty good conditions. Whereas Port Adelaide, they're finding their feet very nicely, and still the big question of, are they capable? Are they serious? Are they contenders or pretenders? And it's been a question we've had at the start of basically the last 3 seasons, whether or not Port Adelaide are the real deal. And I think this weekend in general might actually answer that question. You've got to beat a side that is stumbling, take advantage of them, and rip them a new one. It's as simple as that. Port Adelaide have got to take advantage of a West Coast team that's low on confidence, struggling with the ability to adapt in a hub situation. And Port Adelaide are basically playing an away game. We're pretty good considering what happened last week against Fremantle. So it's going to be one of those things where I think West Coast are going to want to bounce back. They really need to bounce back. They're 1-3 if they don't win this one. Port Adelaide will go 4-0 if they win. And that's a fantastic start for them. So there's a lot playing on both sides. I think I hate playing West Coast in general, and I don't really particularly like West Coast, but they've still got a quality side, and we've got to watch out for plenty of those players. And I think we match up pretty well every single time. That's why it's always a close contest. And there's no McGovern, which is going to be a very interesting debacle for Port Adelaide forwards. Speaking of Port Adelaide forwards, I found an interesting stat the other day that Todd Marshall, when he is in Port Adelaide's side, Port Adelaide are 18 wins and 5 losses. Take that as you will, but he seems to be that underrated key to keeping our structure nice and sound. So Todd is probably going to be one of those players that this weekend will fly under the radar again, with Port Adelaide having Dixon being the main target. Westhoff seems to be taking the second biggest defender, and that might change structurally with Dersma unfortunately being out. So Marshall flies under the radar a whole lot more at centre-half forward, and you could even play him deep because he reads the high ball so well. He also is fantastic on his on the ground, underneath his feet. So I think, that's one thing we've got a lot of underrated players. Carl Amon's another that seems to be producing good football at the moment. You've got he's not underrated. He's the captain, but Tom Jonas is sensational down back. DBJ has been unreal since coming out of the period off. And then obviously our midfielders, Ollie Wine's back. Travis Boak in fantastic form. Rockcliffe is flying under the radar at the moment. Hasn't done too much, but he's still doing the one percenters and is keeping our midfield strong. And then you've got Motlop, who has the ability to break a game open. He might have a quiet one last week like he did against Fremantle, but he could burst out the blocks, kick forward, and have 20 possessions this week. We've consistently got to be good as a team. No passengers. But it's these types of players that stand up on these types of games that really have a momentum shift and will benefit the team so much more. Now, I did mention Dersma, unfortunately out with a hamstring injury for 3 to 4 weeks. It's very sad because he was a key pillar on the wing for us and running across half-back as well at some stages. There's a lot of options for Port Adelaide at the moment to go through. Now, you could bring in Jack Watts, right? Push Riley Bonner to the wing, and you have that runner and that booming left foot kick that he has, and bring Watts back in. That'd be a pretty good story. Then you've got Miles Bergman, who could make his debut. He comes in, then you sort of rotate that wing position and sort of filter through different players at different stages. You could bring in someone like a Sam Mays, who's used to playing that wing position, but has he played enough football? The one that I'm focusing on, and I think works really well, is Westhoff in 2018. Majority of the time played on the wing, did filter forward a couple of times, but he played on the wing, and he roamed freely and did whatever the hell he wanted. I say put Westhoff to the wing, play Mitch Georgiadis, bring him back into the side, then you've got a high-flying forward option that's an alternative that releases Marshall and also creates a better contest for Dixon one-on-one. And it just creates a whole new dynamic forward line once again for Ken Hinkley to work with. And if it's going to be dry, like they say they are, then our tools are going to have a field day. So what I'm thinking, I'm tipping Port Adelaide to win by 17 points. I don't think it'll be an overly big win like our last 3 games have been somewhat pretty consistent in us keeping the opposition at bay at all stages. I think with West Coast, we've got to be wary of how much quality they have on their side. They've still got Nick Nat Nui, so it's a big task for Lysette. And I'm thinking we'll still get the job done. And just a special congratulations to Brad Ebert, who will play game 250 this week against his old side, which is quite an ironic situation for him. But an amazing performance for him ever since he joined the club in 2012, being a warrior, a fearless leader, and joined us during the hardest of times and has just been a consistent performer throughout. So special congratulations to Brad Ebert. And I'm pretty sure he'll have his head bandaged when he runs out on the field, because the bloke may as well just start with that. Just gets cut every single game. So yeah, well done to Brad, and it's going to be a good game. It's going to be an interesting game, and I'm hoping we get the job done. Well, there you have it, Port fans. That is my preview for round 4 against the Eagles in a contest that I'm very much looking forward to, and hopefully we do get the job done. Let me know in the comments below what you are thinking about this week's game. What is your worry? What are you thinking going into this one? So let me know there, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new for plenty more Port Adelaide and AFL content coming your way across this very, very interesting season. My name is Anthony, and as always, come the pair.